All right.
I messaged him just so you know.
Yeah. So we're going to start. Welcome to the second walkthrough for season 15. Today will be Barcelona. This walkthrough will be in the dry. Uh, the race is in the wet, but since the time changed so much in the wet, there are so many variables that could change the time for a lap. It's just better to do it in the dry. And in ACC, there's no difference between your dry line and the wet line. In real life, you'll have to do a different line in the wet, but in ACC is fine. The only thing that changed, you will not get as much on the curb as you go in the dry. That's the only thing, but the rest is you still use the same racing line. So that's why I'm gonna be doing it in the dry, and it is the same parameter as usual. I'm to around 20 degree hot lap mode for this lap in the Porsche. So as we go, when we get to brake reference, acceleration, back on acceleration, all of those, it could vary from car to car. Braking point will vary from car, and you need to be aware that if you don't have the same field of view as me, your braking point might change a little bit for your field of view or depending on your car. So it's just a reference that you could test with, and then you need to just find your to get better with your car and with your setup that you have. So we're gonna start with the in the car lap. As usual, take a look at the throttle input, the brake, the steering. After that, we'll go from the outside, and then you could have a better view of the line that I'm using for this car. And if you have any question, after that we'll go corner to corner. If you have any question at any time, just stop me. You don't need to wait at the end of the lap to ask it. And for this lap, I did 142.7. So let's start from the inside. And then I'm gonna look at the same lap from the outside this time, so you could have a better view of the line. gonna start turn 1. Your first braking point will be just a bit before the 100 meter board that we have here. So if we go just on the inside, I'm gonna slow it down. Just like probably like 2 cars before the 100 meter board. So yeah, just before. So if you look from the outside, it's probably, I guess, car or 2. Yeah, maybe a little bit more, but so you need to brake before. If you brake at the 100 meter board, you will shoot out the corner for sure. So use the track. You could go on the curb, it's smooth. You could use it to brake there, it will be fine. But in the race, you'll need to try it. It'll depend how much wet it is for this week. So if we start in the dry, use it. If it changes to the wet, you might need to stay on the asphalt. So, but in the dry, you could use it, no problem. Let's go it slowly. So a big braking point. You're coming pretty fast. The next corner 1, it's also a fast right-hander, so you're gonna still carry a bit of speed. There's some camber that tries going down, and there's a bit of camber in the corner here, so that will help to carry more speed. And you want to have your right wheels. The best place will be like just on the right of that sausage curve. If you put your right wheel there, you know you're doing good. So you could go right up there with the wheels. Just going slowly. I'm brake hard, the straight line, starting to turn, and then I'm gonna start release the brake. And I want to go on the green stuff a bit, so you could be aggressive for the quali. And then for the next one, I'll do the same thing. So same thing as any track, when we have 2 fast corner that are coming one to the other, like 1-2 here, I don't need to go always to the, I don't want to use the full track on the left on the exit. I want to compromise the first one, and then have the next one have the better exit. So I'm using like pretty much maybe a little bit more on the left, around the middle of the track. So that's where you want to exit, and then you want to cut as much as possible for the turn 2. Gonna start turning. You could go aggressive a bit on this one too. Put your tire on the green. And same thing here. You're not gonna go all the way up to the right. If you go on this green, not the light green but the other one, this is it's really slippery here because you're already back full throttle. If you get here, and you'll still be turning on the left because you want to get a little bit on the left for the turn 3, there's a good chance that the rear of the car will just go. So try to not go to use all the track on the exit, because there's another turn that's coming right after. So I want to compromise a bit. I'm turning a bit left, not too much. And then for this corner, there's no braking, just the lift. And the lift happens between those 2 parallel signs. So if those are gone, you still have the sand, that hand here, so it's somewhere just a bit before, but it's rare that those could be it, but you always have the sand that you could look. So you'll go and you do a lift a tiny bit, will go maybe like half, a bit more for me, and then you'll be back full throttle for the rest of the corner. And if you want to know when to get back full throttle, I'm using, you see the orange thing on the fence on the other side. So when I'm getting pretty much aligned with it, I should be back full throttle here if you do the corner correctly. So when I see it, and then I'll be back full throttle, and I will do the unwheel the wheel slowly to finish the corner. And you could use your left tire on the green, that will be fine. Track limit is the white line of, on this part will be, on the corner is the white line of the track. So if you go wide here, if your right tire pass there, it will be a track cut or a warning during a race if you didn't gain time. So let's go back to this section, because it happens so fast. We have 3 turns like that coming. We'll just take a look at full speed. So getting to a 100-meter board, get back on hard on the brake. Here, the orange back full throttle. The car. So it's 3 corner, but you could almost think it as one. It's just so fast between those. I just a big enchantment of corners, like when we did Silverstone, Maggot, Bicket, and Chapel. Same idea here. Turn 4, my reference is the bridge. So when it's disappearing from my field of view, when it go on the top of the windshield, that's where I'm gonna brake. Keeping the car on the left, you could use the curb. Stay there, it's fine to brake in the dry. In the wet, you need to test it on hours of practice to see if it's doable, and it also depends on the rain. If it's just light rain, you might be able to. If it really in medium rain, might not be. So just stay on the asphalt, same thing as the previous corner. This exit of the corner is really slippery. If you are too much on the left, it's really slippery. You're full throttle and you're still finishing the corner, and there's just no grip on the outside here. I did a bunch of time. I'm sure I could find, but if you could still be a bit wider than this, a bit more, but be careful. Maybe you could always try. I remember when I was driving the car, like a McLaren, I think, was doing a short shift here, so to not pushing all the power on the back of the wheel, so I could keep more stable rear here, because it's really slippery. You probably already find it by yourself, but it's a tricky corner too.
Since you're in the individual cam, can you see if there's a lot of off camber for the top of the hill here? Is it more flat, or is it a little bit outward to a little bit behind the car?
Behind. It's a bit of camber.
Yeah, because I think it loses some camber as you get to the top here.
It's probably because
you get to about here, maybe a little further, it might lean to the outside just a tad.
Yeah, because it's really slippery, like so easy to lose the rear.
I mean, look how hard the car's leaning on the suspension already. You can see that right rear tire's giving up the ghost.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a tricky corner at the end, especially here. Like that's where it's losing all the grip. I think let's go from the inside. Yeah, yeah, it was just about to lose the grip. Like I did a tiny bit of left on the steering that it was on the edge to lose it. But yeah, it is a tricky one to do. And the next one is also tricky. Um, Turn 5, there's no really good reference, a braking reference for there, and it's really easy, also really easy to log the front wheel. So you'll need to brake hard, but also release a bit because as it goes down and left, there you're losing all the grip from the front left. I guess it almost lift, so it's easy to log the front there. So just be really careful of it. And someone was asking in the chat where to brake for this one. I don't remember who was it, but it is a tricky one. Let's go.
Is there not a Marshall stand on the flag on the right there?
I'm using
This
the tower.
the big tower. Yeah, I knew there was something there. I just couldn't remember what it was.
Yeah, the tower, but you brake past the tower. I don't really like to have a braking reference when it's on the side of me or behind me, but it could give you a reference, so you need to brake soon. But it's not. You don't see it anymore when you brake it. I
Isn't
still
there isn't there also like an access road on the right? Like you have to pass it, but I think there is one.
There's another thing. There's a bump somewhere here. That's where you need to brake. So it's not a visual thing, but if you feel the bump, if you brake, you bump and then you brake, you're probably too late.
Hmm.
So you'll need to just feel it for. But for me in the VR, I still, since the corner is going left, I'm already like start to looking at the left a bit, so I still see a bit of the tower on my out of view on the left. So I'm still using the tower.
There's the access road. That's I would say last visual that you're going to see on the right. Yes.
Yeah, it's already here, but I'm still gonna braid later. Tiny bit just before. Like here, see, I don't see the tower anymore. But if I'm inside, when I'm see in the VR, I'm still just turning my head a bit, and the tower is there. But if you put on the flat screen, you're probably gonna see this. You don't have much visual. It's more just like a instinct one that just do it as you do. Continue to doing it, and you'll just get it.
Well, with the barrier on the left-hand side, all the white tires, you might make it so that as the white tires start to disappear on the left side of the windshield, it might work.
Yeah.
See the tires in the distance here on the left? Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
on that
Yeah,
might
those.
work. Like the edge of that might work or something, but that
Yeah,
would be a real timing thing. You'd have to get really correct.
yeah. It is a tricky one for. There's no really good reference. Like the other one, we have the bridge. It's obvious. It's there. It's not gonna move. But this, it's a hard one. It's just one of those corners. I just want to get back a bit. I just want to see. There's a bump. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, there's a big bump like right there. Just gonna watch it full speed. So, just a practice one. Not much to say. You could use the tire like Landry says. Could help to finalize it, but at the end, it'll be more like an instinct one. So as guy said, this one you want to brake hard, on the right. Then when you start to turn here, it dips to the left. So I want to release the brake here still. And then I'll just want to hug the curb. Just a tiny bit. You don't need to go on the curb. They are pretty aggressive. They don't have bump or ripple on it. It's just like the angle of the curb. Still pretty steep, like for the car while turning. It's just asking a lot to the car. So you're coming.
I've actually run up on the curb a few times, and it wants to lift the front end, which in turn makes the car turn to the inside. So be careful with it.
Yeah, this one, there's another one that will go later. Turn 12. It happened. I'm go on the curve. It's the same curve this one, but since going up and turning and with all the camera, all that, it lift like probably lift a little bit of the rear too, because you just spin me. I was just on the donut. It's really easy to spin the rear wheels. So there's some camber area, but since it dipped, if you hold the brake too long, it's gonna lock the front and might go a little bit wide. So let's just go from the inside. Slowly. You want to start brake, and then you're gonna release a little bit quicker than usual. And then you just coast. When you get to your apex, back full throttle, and you want to use the exit as much as possible. So if you keep your left wheel on the curb, you'll be fine for a year.
And since you mentioned the coast, remember guys, when you're off the throttle, the car either wants to stay leaning slightly forward or it goes neutral, which allows the car to grip. Now, if as soon as you touch the throttle, it starts to lean back and the front end starts to release grip because you lose the weight. So the corner going downhill and to the left with a little bit of camber help, that's going to be critical going through there. Let the car do its work through that corner.
Yeah. And just want to check something. I did fully lift here. Yeah. Oh, you see this? I stay like, there's a small part I stay like 10%. That's just me and the Porsche. Just want to keep the stabilize the rear. But in other cars should be probably coasting all the way until you want to get full throttle. It's just in the Porsche you need to. There's a good thing to do just to put a little bit of weight back on the rear wheels. That's just specific to this car because of the way it's built. So this should be, every time you see this, you're seeing me doing this, like a 5-10% throttle on the corner, I will do a lot. That's just for specific to the Porsche. So all your car should be coasting. But when you see this, it will be the same thing for every car. So I'm probably not gonna use this in the rain. It depends how much wet it is, but I'm guessing.
Hey, Michael.
Yep.
Could you back up again and just play the approach to 5 again, just kind of like at half speed or a quarter speed? Yeah, maybe half speed. Yeah. Because I always feel like when I get down to the apex and I try to get the car to rotate, I think I get on the brakes maybe too hard, or maybe I turn in too early.
Yeah, I'm with
right?
you on that one.
Yeah, I could never get the car to
exactly
rotate
what
where
you're
you
talking
are. Yeah, I could never really get the car to rotate where you are. Maybe like I'm getting on the throttle too soon, and so it's understeering. Like I can never get that rotation like you just did.
Yeah, it's a hard one to do.
Yeah.
It happened to me when, like, it didn't happen on this lap, but I guarantee that happened on another lap. So
Yeah. Okay.
It happened. You prefer from the inside or outside?
No, the outside would be great. Yeah. I just like when I watched you rotate to the apex, I was like, how the hell did you get it facing that way? Hard missile brake. Oh, okay.
Very late.
turns late, but it's the trail that really he gets it. So he stays on the brake hard, and then he puts some trailing in while like late turning the wheel, and that's what gets the rotation. I get it. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I guess, man. I think I'm also too far left in a couple places when I do that. So when I do it, I put too much steering in, and so it's like it feels like the car's not turning.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
All right.
a later entry than usual, and trail brake always help to turn the car.
The actual apex is a little later, isn't it, for that corner? Or no?
Actually, I think he nails it, but the thing is, it looks different because it's downhill and away from you.
Yeah.
Right, okay, gotcha.
I think I like subconsciously kind of panic when I get there. Like it's not really like, oh god, I'm scared. I think it's just the fact like I'm almost mentally worried about missing the apex, so I just throw in some steering early. And so that push is like me trying to scrabble to get it over there just to make sure I make it. I think I need to wait a little longer and get the car down a little more.
There's a huge amount of drop off here, guys. This is like, I know.
Oh
This is
yeah,
at
it's
least a full
downhill.
story or two. Look,
Oh
yeah,
shit.
it's a giant drop.
Oh my
that
god,
comes
yeah,
down
you're
to
right.
it.
It like swoops down. Oh yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, that's why it's easy to lock the front wheel here.
Yeah. Okay.
You just lose all the weight in the front.
I'll work on
This
that.
is like at the top of the hill at Kyalami, exactly the same thing.
Oh yeah.
Remember the hairpin up there, David?
Yeah. That's actually a really good analogy. Yeah, like, I think it's a 10. I think, but yeah, that's a good comparison corner.
This is all about how you guys can slow drive the car around the track to figure out how much change in height that actually really is.
Probably also when following cars, I probably need to chase somebody down there too, so I can get used to that, like getting on the brake early and staying late and not turning to like stay with them and creating some terrible understeer. Because I can see that happening too. Like you follow a car and you get on the brake and the road hasn't dropped off yet, and you turn before the drop off, and so the car is dropping off when you still have lock in. Yeah, that would okay. Yeah.
There's anybody else have question or want to see anything else on this corner?
Just turn 5 makes me mad all the time, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, make me mad too.
Well, good. No, I don't feel so
You're not
bad.
the only one. It's a tricky one.
I hate it.
And then you just lose a bunch of time if you miss this corner because you have a little straight after that, but you could lose a lot of time.
True.
I think a lot of times if you guys will actually try your best to coast through here as much as possible, you'll realize that all of a sudden the front end just digs in and turns left.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking too. I think I'm just not coasting at all, really.
Yeah. This is probably a sim racing thing where, like, if it was real, you would feel the front drop, right? But because we're sitting at home, we can't feel the car drop, so you don't notice that the car drops.
But coasting in ACC is really powerful for any corner. It's something that you will need to learn to stay out of the throttle and just let the car go, and then when you back on the throttle, you're full throttle and you stay full throttle. You don't want to lift back.
One place that I've noticed it mainly, especially the coasting portion, is on the outlaps where you don't have full temperature or grip at the tires, and you're trying to do what I normally say as far as like driving accurately. When you start going through certain corners, yes, you were at a slower speed, but all of a sudden you realize that, damn, I got to open the steering. This thing's going to go over the curb. And it's because you're technically coasting through the corner and you don't realize it.
Yeah. Right. Let's go to the next one. So the next one is a lot easier for braking your friends. So we turn 7 because they go distance times 6. So this one is the beginning of the curve, not the white and red. It's the beginning where the triangle is, where the concrete start. So right at the tip of it, is my reference. That's what I'm using for it. Let's go slowly. See, right when I get to it, it's where I'm gonna start to brake. So let's go to the corner slowly. I'm gonna brake. Then I want to cut on the curve on the left. You could even go on the green a bit, just to get a front bit, and then full throttle. And we're gonna cut as much as possible this one from the left wheel. We just need to stay on the curve, the red and white. So same thing coming here. You want to stay like middle and just try to straight up the next one to have like almost a straight line as possible. This one was a little bit of slide with the rear, but still keep the car on the track. Go from the outside one more time. So you don't need to go too much on the. Usually I will stay out of the curve on the entry here. Just want to stay on the. It just seems to be more slippery and trigger more ABF every time I get too much on the curve. So just try to.
Every time I touch that right-hand curbing, it sucks me right off into the sand.
Yeah.
Yeah. It takes me right into the trap.
Yeah, it's serrated too, so you can hear it. It'll just and then just pull you right off.
See, I touch it a little bit of the, not even. I'm just like maybe a tiny bit, but don't go on it. I don't think it's worth it.
Also here, like unless you have a really good run coming out of 5, I try not to really like set up for passes here because the approach angle is so sharp.
Braking distance is very short.
It's really short, yeah. And so, like, unless you're going to get the move done kind of approaching it, like, through 6 and into 7, it's hard to kind of do it at the last minute because then you have to turn really hard at the bottom of the hill. I'll even let cars lead me up there if they feel like they're going to try to squeeze me down there because they have to turn a lot when we usually get up the hill, and I don't. So that I can be pushing them all the way up the hill. And it's always better to be pushing someone up the hill rather than scrabbling the turn.
Yeah, you just need to be patient, probably wait at 10 after the straight.
So so many people fall off through there. So
yeah, it's possible to do it, but it need to be done earlier. You don't want, since it's a really fast corner and you're going back full throttle and cut the other one, so it's still really fast. So get on it, get the front wheel just to grab a bit on the top, full back, full throttle, and it's really slidey, like right here where I just slide a bit. It happened in all the cars that I drive here. It's just one of those corners when you get to that curve, try to cut it. It's always slippery on the rear, so just be careful, Liam.
Can you elaborate on just being careful right there for sliding on the rear? Because I'm with you. It's like it's very scary on the rear, getting on the power right there.
Yeah, I just need to try to catch it, those small thing with the wheel, like. We'll go from the outside.
Is it a lot of like making sure you're kind of straight when you get on the power and not in the turn?
Yeah, you try to be straight. Yeah, it will help a lot. But you still need to turn, like for this corner.
Well, also because you're going up, right? Like the G-force is basically coming from the bottom of the car, right? And so that can make it really easy for the rear to get light. And if you do a lot of weight transfer through there because you're jabbing the throttle or not progressive with keeping the rear stable, it can make it really easy to lose the car because there's basically G-force underneath the car lifting the rear up.
Right. I guess it would be the exact opposite of 5, right?
Right, exactly. So like that's I think one thing that I try to do on hills is imagine the G-force direction as I'm working the throttle, so that you don't upset the car and have G-force basically coming from the bottom if you're going over a curve or any sort of big bump. Because you can't feel it, right? You got to have it in your head of like, oh yeah, the car will lift here.
You could, if your car could do it, you could go a little bit more on the curve here to try to straight it. Or in race, I'll be a little slower. Will not go as much right as I go for this lap. So it'll be more straight, so it'll be a little bit less dangerous from here. So I'll probably not exit that wide. I'll be a little bit more, and I'm just gonna. So I'm gonna, like right now I'm coming and I will be like cutting here at my right wheel after the sausage curve here and just go on it. But in the race, I'm probably gonna have my right wheel as much as the first curve, so you could try to be more straight to see if I'll not push as much, but I will be like here, and then just go straight. That will help a lot.
Would that just be a matter of being a little more patient on the power?
Yeah, could be more patient on power. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Actually, I think he got really lucky here because the only thing that kept this lap to being non-red is a left front wheel right there.
Mhm.
I mean,
Right about here.
I mean, using all
You
the
are
track?
still, yeah, you're just barely still on the left front wheel. Yeah, you're just barely on the red there. This was a very fast, I made it work kind of thing. Because yeah, you're right there. You're only touching with the one wheel.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is like an extreme amount of actually cutting this track. He saved it, and it worked. But I think if you guys are a half a car's width to the left, you'll be safe.
Oh yeah. You don't need to cut as much as this. You have the sand that's working for you here. So if you, this is on odd lap, so I was just pushing as much as possible. I will not do this in the race. I will try again the quali if we have, yeah, we have the quali for this one. I will definitely, I'll go on quali. I'll do one bank lap, maybe a second one, to try to when the tire get up to 10 after like 2 laps, and then the third one I will just go like full send. I'll try.
And by the way, the sand trap here on the right will stop the car. You do not drive through this. This is almost, whatever speed you're at, 134. I bet you probably wouldn't be doing 10 if you hit that, full car. So believe me, it works.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. It was same thing for Silverstone. I used like if you every lap that you see on YouTube that are like super fast alien lap, they're using every inches of the track. That's what we mean when we are using all the track. Like I'm just trying it for obviously it's for this, and I'm pushing as much as possible, and that's what it is. That's how we manage to get those time because from here and be on power later to not get over the sausage here, you're probably gonna lose like a couple 10 just from air to the next one. So it could make a big difference. It's on quality lap, but a race lap for me will just be no, it's just too dangerous here.
In the range, would it be dangerous to be going over this?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It will be. So mainly
Water and paint don't mix.
Yeah, the green stuff is paint and it's just slippery. And I think something like the white line before the curve is all even slippery. Like in real life, if you race, you don't want to touch those lines.
Yeah. Oh God, it's slipperier than being offline.
Yeah.
It's terrible. Oh, it's awful.
It's ice. Like I'm driving
Yeah.
a kart, and there's a white line around the track. Don't touch it when it's raining. You're just gonna spin.
If you're battling other cars, like one thing I would suggest while Hop is running this week, run during changes of weather conditions so you can mentally get yourself used to running basically not the wet line, but like not touching the paint. Because a lot of folks, when they only run in the dry, they get such a muscle memory for running in the dry that when it rains, they instinctively like run the curbing and they touch the outside and they do little silly things. And so that'll really screw up your race real quickly because you just don't have time to fix it. And if you're racing against someone who's doing that, you can like encourage them to drive over those things, which will hurt them and help you. So being able to switch on and off to like, don't run there. Oh, I can run there now is really important, especially in changing conditions, because you can open up big gaps on people who like aren't utilizing that place on the track when it's finally dry enough, and those can be the extra 2 or 3 seconds you need to get to the end.
Yeah, and since we're talking about changing condition, it's just when you're racing, what we're gonna have this week, if it change, it just you need to adapt to the situation. Like if you do a corner, you feel you have more grip, next lap you could push a little bit more there, or if you feel it's too slippery, so brake a little bit earlier, be gentle on throttle, gentle on the steering. You need to adapt like every lap.
Yeah, this week I don't know what the condition is going to be. Like I don't know, and I said it. So you need to be able to like acknowledge it quickly when the weather changes, and there's a possibility that in the race that might happen. So we might start dry, and you'll run the curbing all day, and then in the middle of the race it'll start to rain, and you have to get off the curbs. Like you just can't run the curbs again, and you need to acknowledge that quickly and be like, okay, I need to not touch that.
Yeah.
Remember, when you're in the pits, you look up at the screen, and we're on a particular day for say practice. The next session is another day, so your weather is 100% going to be different. Especially the calculations for the 10:20 or the 10:30 or whatever it is, the times that go by, and then in the race day we're on a completely another day.
Yeah.
So you have to be very wary of what's going on in that screen.
Davin,
Yes.
did you set the variability rather high compared to other race days where it might change? The temperatures may change a little
So
bit.
I'm gonna answer your question because we're in a clinic.
Yeah.
Normally, I would say I don't know. Go check SRGP because it'll
Yeah, but
tell
I
you if
haven't
you're in
haven't
instances,
taken that
right?
opportunity.
Yeah,
Just
but
saying.
today I'll answer it for you. I set it to a 2, so the variability is enough, right? But it's not going to be drastic swings, right? It'll some sessions it'll rain. Like I think the percentage of rain is like 60% at low variability, but the amount because of the cloud cover will vary. So sometimes you'll get a little bit of rain, sometimes it'll be a steady state, but it won't be pouring rain, right? Just enough that you guys will have to get used to running in the rain and run rain tires and do other things, but not like where the track will ever be flooded or anything terrible like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
For Spa, I'm making the variability quite high. So you will go from completely dry to the next session pouring rain, or like in the middle of the session pouring rain. But you'll have done a couple of wet races and sessions between now and then. So by then you should at least know how to drive in the rain to some degree and be able to deal with that.
You might have to stay on the dry depending if you only got like 10 minutes left on the race and then it start to rain.
Right.
You might need to finish those 10 minutes in the dry tire, but rain
Yep.
in the rain. Or it could be also the opposite. You might have a wet tire that get completely red, like 34 psi, but still need to race on those balloon tire. That
Yeah.
could happen, and
Yeah.
I guess it will happen.
Oh yeah, no, like we did a practice battle this morning where we purposely ran from in on dry tires till raining until the game told us to switch to dry tires, and we all lost like 3 psi on our tires while we were driving because you just had to stay out, right? Because it's what 50 degrees give or take 50 Fahrenheit, and it's raining, so pressures are going to drop, but it's not wet enough for a wet tire, and so you just have to learn to drive on tires that are underinflating long enough until you get to the end because it won't make sense. Like if I'm 2 or 3 laps from the end, it doesn't make sense for me to take a 30-second penalty for tires. And so you got to learn to be able to drive that. Or like on a wet tire, a couple laps to the end, and you've got a 15-second lead. It might make sense to just destroy the tire and stay out. We're gonna throw
Don't
it.
hunt for water to keep it cooler.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and that's where getting some experience with those different things are going to be helpful because you kind of have to just use your judgment. You're rolling the die, right? Like I don't know if you're going to catch me in 15 seconds in 3 laps. I don't know, right? So you need to be able to just kind of be consistent and kind of pay attention to your deltas and see kind of how the race is playing out. Make a call.
Yeah.
Side note, DM Devin.
Okay.
And if you start in the dry, you don't really know the tire pressure that you will need because it's weather change and get wet. You need to change to wet. Usually, if you put around like 27.5 to 28, it should be good for like rain, medium rain. It will get to like around 30. So if you need to adjust it on the fly. Okay, let's continue and we'll go to turn 9. So turn 9 is through your... I'm not braking, I'm just doing a lift. Some car might need a little tap of the brake, so you probably do like 10-20%, just a really quick tap, just get some weight on the front to get some grip to turn the next corner. And what I'm using for this lap I'll lift a little bit later, but usually the end of the curve, the end of the concrete, when it go back to the triangle, going back to the track, that's where you should lift, and it's not a complete lift. Just you're gonna still keep like 20% the throttle, and you just keep it there, stay close to the curve, and then back full throttle. You're gonna use all the tires possible. If you touch the gravel here, it's invalidate your lap. So I'm guessing it's pretty much the same. You cannot. It's probably the white line. Go check if I pass. No, it's not. It's not the white line. So it's the curve.
Are you off throttle a lot when you rotate through 9? Because like that's my worst corner on the whole track here. Like I always feel like I'm not rotating enough when I get up the hill, but like not enough where I want to make a setup change. It's just every time I get there, when I try to get the car to turn, it's just kind of like I guess we're going.
How long are you waiting on the coasting portion?
Probably not long enough. Probably. Right?
It's just like we talked about before.
Yeah, probably not long enough. Like, I just try to make it so that when I get on full throttle, I don't have to get off again because I fell off at the exit. So I kind of just timed it so that I could get on full throttle and drive straight from there. But I never feel like the car has turned the entire time. It's just like I'm facing the exit. That might just be it, but
it's longer. When I start this week, I was trying to get back on throttle like here, but it's later than that.
Oh yeah, but you don't get fully off throttle. You kind of just get to like 20% throttle, so that you still got some drive up the hill. I've never tried that. I've always done like a big lift and then just
doing the same with the McLaren. I think I still keep a little bit of throttle.
Okay.
So when I'm getting back on throttle here, it's when the board with the arrow is pretty much face to me. But those board, there's a good chance they will not stay for the whole race.
Mm-hmm.
Guarantee those. But
yeah. The styrofoam that spreads across the world. Yeah.
So it'll be the sign on the top of those arrows.
Yeah, there you have the ACC
black and white.
So that could be a reference that you could try with your car. You could try that and be full throttle and use the track.
There is a very wide exit here. I have been all the way at least to that point, and it doesn't cause a red lap. So you can use a lot here, but remember in the wet, this is going to be slick as all hell. Plus, this is an acceleration point. It can trigger the traction control in the wet here too.
For this one, what I'm using the yellow crane on the left. So when you get to a certain point, that's my braking point. You also have the 100-meter board there, and you could look at it. Just want to see exactly where. So it's a little bit similar to turn 1. So I'm using on the left. That's just my preference. So when it start to disappear, that where I'm braking, but the 100-meter board work really well. So.
Can we see where you are from the very top view down right now?
Want to get to the brake?
Yeah. So just as you start the brake, the crane disappears. Let's look straight down on top of your car to see where you are between the 100 and 150. Kind of halfway.
Well, yeah, pretty much halfway. Far from the front of the car, yeah. Could use that. Some people use the tree. There's this tree that you see from the inside, but trees are to spot since we have a bunch of trees. So 100-meter board, the crane, pretty good one to use for this one. As usual, using the trike, you could use the curb on the right to brake a bit on it. It's fine. So this will be a corner that you could practice a lot of trail braking. I'm gonna trail brake here. That when I get to the apex, full throttle. gonna gain a lot of fang by trail braking here. That's one corner you could practice to use it. It's not a easy technique to do, but it's a way to get rotation and time.
After this pass at this speed, let's watch it from outside at full speed.
Oh yeah, I have to stay off the curb there because if I hit it, I get this bump of TC that just kills my run up that. Just crazy.
You want to watch from the outside, you said, Larry?
Yeah, from this position, yeah. All right, can we go back and look at the same shot from inside the car? Watch how this looks very different, guys. Notice how on the Porsche he keeps the curb in view at the bottom edge of the windshield? Some of you will have to watch it through the driver's side window depending on how you hit the corner. If you do a late turn in here to make the apex, that part of the curb will disappear, and what you see underneath the mirror will be watching where the apex goes by. But that's a later turn in at that point.
And use the exit. You could use it a bit. It's the curve. And this corner is flat. You could put your left wheel on the green stuff. Some car doesn't mind to put it there. I could do it. I didn't do it on this lap, but usually I go. I think I stay on the curve. Yeah. Usually I could cut a little bit more, but it's not a big difference. So we have two corners coming fast, one after each other. So I'm gonna stay in the middle of the track. Don't want to exit too much on the right. I'm gonna stay here, and then I'm gonna brake for the next one. And for this one, so you start on the curb, you let it go a little bit wide, and then you get back on throttle. It's similar to last corner of Silverstone that we did last week. So I'm gonna let the car roll a bit, not much, just a bit. And when I get to this sausage curve that you see here,
That's the only one in the corner too.
Yeah, that's my that's where when I get to, I think, by it, that's where I'm gonna be back full throttle. So I want to start to accelerate it back here, and then you go close to the curve, but don't go on it. If you go on it, it will spin your rear wheels and you're just gonna lose the car. And it's really easy on this one. So go close, but don't go on it. And you want to use the exit of the track. So you could go. You're not gonna get a track limit here, but you could touch the sand. So you just need to go before the sand. So you want to exit. This has the first part that you see here. First gravel here is fine. You don't want to touch like this one.
This is another place here where it will absolutely stop the car.
Yeah, every sand on this track will stop your car. And next one that was that's an hard one too. Where to brake? There's no real. It's not as bad, I think, as turn 5. So what I'm using, when I'm starting to see the curb, we'll go slowly, you'll see it. So when it starts to appear, so I'm starting to see it, that's where I'm braking.
Oh, you mean the one at the apex? Okay.
Yeah, it's a bit red sausage curve. So when I'm starting to see this part, that's where I'm starting to brake. You see, I just starting to see it almost. So that's how I'm braking for this one. So let's go slowly, and the exit of this one is hard. So now you're going down, turning right, but it's off camber. The track lean to the left. So there's not a lot of grip here because of that, because you want to turn right, but it tries to go the other way. So when you get back on throttle here, you could clearly see that the track is leaning to the left. It's not as much grip as, yeah, and you're going down. So just be careful here. It's easy to get the car loose here. I think I'm good. Yeah, this is a bit wide, but it's not bad. You don't want to touch the curve on the left. So, and for the chicane, I'm using the board that we have on top here. So I pass it a little bit before I'm braking. So I'm gonna get underneath. Right when I get underneath it, that's when I'm gonna start to brake. Then I don't want to go on the curve. I just want to go close. I touch it a bit here. It's not much. Stay in the middle. Coming back, full throttle, and to get to the. And then you could use the exit a bit here.
Did you try to hit that curve on purpose, or the second one, or is it just kind of like a sometimes you do, sometimes you don't?
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I didn't want to touch
Cool.
it.
Sure.
Both of them I don't want to touch it. I touch it both
Yeah.
on this lap, but I only like tip it a bit. It's not much.
Got it.
Yeah, they're extremely tall, and it really does upset the car when you touch it too much. I mean, if you just run across the rumble strips, it might even help rotate the car, but do not even try and trust it.
No, don't hit those.
And I noticed on your exit, you don't cross the yellow sausage.
No, I don't want to cross it. If I go the most I will go on it, it's putting my left tire on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just gonna
Okay.
scrub the underneath of the car and don't need to. And last corner is flat, but if you don't do the line right in certain car here, it will just push you wide. So you just need to be careful and don't go on the curve on the right. So you want to go close. I think I touch it a tiny bit here, but you don't want to go on it. It will just unbalance the car and make it loose. Same thing on the exit. Could exit wide, it's fine. You have the curve that you could use for track limit.
Is there any camber or out for that last corner, or is it somewhat flat?
A little bit up, camera, yeah.
Okay, so it does lean out a little bit. Okay, I wasn't 100% sure, but I think it's not perfectly flat, and there's definitely no help from the camber. That's for sure. Especially on the last half of the corner, it kind of dips out.
Yeah, it's like.
But here,
Yeah. So if you're finding you have trouble that you exit too wide, just work on your line when you're gonna start to turn it. It's. Yeah. And doesn't. When I mean in this turn, I lost. See, it looked pretty good when I look at it, but when I did this lap on the delta, I was 210 more. I was like 4.5. I lose 210 here. I think I exited a bit too wide at work, and I braked a little bit too early, and like you cannot see it like this. If you look at the lap, it's fine. You don't see no major mistake, but I braked it too early. When I was seeing the delta for 42.7, was just like too cautious on the last and I lose 210 right there. So it's tiny bit, but those laps that we see on YouTube is like perfect everywhere. Any question on any corner of the track?
Are I don't have any questions, but I do have a thank you. You've given me a few quarters that I have to work on.
Yeah,
Cheers,
me
man.
too.
Yeah,
too.
no problem.
KB10.
I'll admit to an entire track. How's that?
Yeah, that too.
But then,
This will be available on NARS YouTube by tomorrow or
No, but within a couple of days.
in a couple of days. Okay, good.
Mhm.
That was awesome.
yeah, no problem. If you have any question, you could DM me or other. We're already ready to help, so don't be shy and practice in the rain. Will be the big,
Mhm.
not even just in the rain, in changing condition. I think